What's up, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Karissa Adkins.
And I'm Clara Capano.
And we are here to help you gain clarity and boss up to the next level. Are you ready to get real?
Well, Karissa, I know I'm ready to get real. Are you excited for our first show?
My gosh, dreams come true.
I know, it's amazing, and we have so much to talk about today. But you know what? Part of getting real is we got to get ourselves pumped up. And to do that, I think I need a cocktail. What about you?
Absolutely. Dion, yo, what's up, my man?
Hey girls. How's it going?
Going well, Mr. Mixologist.
Thank you. I prefer to call myself a craftolete. It's a mixture of craft cocktail and athlete.
I like
that. So what are we making today?
Today we're going to make verbenas. I came across this recipe in Vegas, and it incorporates a couple of things. One, tequila, one of my favorite spirits in the world, and two, buzz blossoms, these little yellow things right here. So what they do is they distort your sense of tartness. You're going to be blown away.
Oh my gosh.
Either that or you're absolutely not going to like it.
Beautiful.
Well, time will tell. We'll wait and see.
So we're going to start out with some verbena mix. So this is basically a mix of lime and a very small amount of simple syrup. I don't do too much because, I like the skinny margarita trend. It's my thing. Then we're going to use a little Marie Brizard yuzu liqueur. So this is kind of like a dry carousel, only without the cognac.
Wow.
So it comes across kind of like a margarita, but with something different.
I like something different. It's good.
Yeah.
And then we're going to finish it off with our Rockstar, our Avion Silver. Some people call it Avion.
Now, Dion, how did you get into becoming who you are, this amazing craft cocktail mixer guy?
Well, my mom and grandma owned a bar in St. Louis, and I used to hang out there all the time. And one day my mom had to leave and go and get something for the bar. And she's like, just watch the place, don't make anything, don't let anybody go behind the bar. And a guy asked me for a Long Island iced tea.
Oh my gosh, and then that's probably like the one that everything goes into, right? Like
Absolutely. And so my
a little bit of everything.
My first cocktail was an everything cocktail.
Nothing like synchronous swimming.
And you were hooked from there, huh?
Oh, it's been, I don't know what, the rest was history from there.
Look at that shaking going on.
Yeah.
Shake, senora.
And viewers, don't you worry. We're going to have the recipes for all of these cocktails on our website, so you can get a little slice of heaven at home, too.
And that is livingreal.com. So check us out. We are excited.
And then we're just going to finish this off with a little ginger beer. I prefer the locally made ginger beers. They tend to be a little more ginger forward, a little less sugar forward.
Perfect.
And yum, there we have our verbenas.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, if you take a sip of the cocktail and then chew on the buzz buttons, they are tart. They will change your sense of your perception of sweetness. And then when you try it again, it'll taste like a completely different cocktails. Thank you, ladies.
Well, here we go.
Here we
Cheers,
go,
girl.
girls. Cheers. So
Wow.
good. Oh,
You like it?
Dion, you are
love
magic.
it.
This
I was
is
worried
amazing.
about that one. Honestly.
No, nothing to worry about here. I'm taking
So
another
then
sip
Dion
before we get started.
says to eat the berry, not the rosemary. Just the whole thing. Here we go.
So just a little backstory behind those buzz blossoms. Those were what dentists used before Novocaine to numb teeth,
Now he tells us.
And we have to, a whole 55 minutes of show.
I feel like I'm getting numb.
It's not going to be that numb. It's not that much work.
You know, though, if you can't be real, if we can't be real with you guys, there would be a major issue. And really, that's what this show is all about. Claire?
I know.
I love it. Oh, Dion, we love you. All right, so tell us a little bit about your envision for the show.
Yeah.
And then I'll maybe chime in with mine. And I can't wait to tell everyone who's watching today a little bit about us.
I know.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, you know, a big part of getting real is being able to open ourselves up. So to do that, what we want to do with each show, and this is a surprise for you, is I've worked up sort of a word or a question of the episode.
I like it.
So we're going to always start with that and then roll into it, and then we can get into our stories. So
beautiful.
Our real, living real question of the day is, Karissa, what does bravery mean to you?
I would probably say bravery. I'm all about, y'all are going to figure this out about me real quick. I'm all about bossing up. And bossing up, Clara, you know, for me, it's courageous action. It's taking risks. It's living outside the uncomfort zone. And bravery pretty much means the same thing for me, I think. I think bravery is another word that I would throw in there to describe a boss up moment, because you have to be brave in order to do anything, in order to change your life, in order to boss up, in order to become the next mixologist, right? Like, you have to be brave. You have to be willing, I think, to put it all out there on the line and be real and be okay if it doesn't work out, right?
Absolutely.
So I would say that that's probably what bravery means to me. And then if I had to think of one person that I find incredibly brave, it would have been my mom, you know, struggling with cancer and battling that. I always admired her for her bravery to show up every day. Because I remember at, 25 when she was diagnosed, I always said, Mom, you have more guts than me, because I wouldn't be able to walk in and go and get those shots and the chemo every day. And that would be someone who I really think had a lot of bravery for me.
Yeah.
What about you? Since you surprised me with that one, give me what bravery.
Well, I'm going to say the first thing that's coming to mind is being brave enough to try a cocktail before our first show here. So that's a big part of bravery. But, you know, I think very similar to what you're talking about. It's just being open to step into the unknown, because it's scary. And, you know, one of my mentors, Robin Sharma, has always said that, you know, change is scary at first, it's messy in the middle, but then it's glorious at the end. All right, viewers, we've got our first golden buzzer of the day. So every time we have one of those badass moments where one of us says something and we want to make sure we take note of it, we've got our little badass buzzer here. So just as a recap, again, change is scary at first, messy in the middle, but then glorious at the end.
So beautiful.
And I think bravery for me means pushing through that messiness. Because when it gets messy, when we're stepping out of our comfort zone, it's so uncomfortable and it's easy to just retreat. But bravery means, you know, taking it on, trusting your vision, trusting what you really are working towards, and being able to continue stepping forward. And, you know, when I think about bravery, I think about my mom too. You know, my mom growing up in the 40s and the 50s, when a time where most women, their goals were to get married and have families. My mom wanted to be a career woman. And in fact,
unheard of
back then. Well, in fact, when she was in middle school and they were taking home economics class, she went up to the teacher and she says, I don't need any of this. I'm going to have a career. And in fact, when she got married to my dad at the age of 23, she didn't know how to cook. She couldn't boil spaghetti. She couldn't even make Jell-O. But she knew that was her path. And, you know, luckily she found a partner who fostered that in there. So bravery is about doing things like we're doing here today, you know, unleashing the truth and being able to go into it, which, you know, I know when we met, that was a big part of it is, you know, what does living real mean? As we were coming together and thinking about this show, I think that was the one thing that you and I both stumbled on is we said, we just want to have real conversations. And that was sort of my vision is I wanted to, you know, get a group, build a community and build a movement where women are willing to pull back the curtains and open ourselves up, because I just feel we are so strong and we are so beautiful and have so much to give. But we got to start coming together and getting real about it.
We do. And I think it's You know, when I remember when we said, you know, when we were thinking about what we want to talk about, and when I think what living real is, and it's very similar to what you just said, but I believe every woman has a story. We have a journey we've been on, we've struggled, you know, we've all had to either step into a new version of us or stay stuck. Either way is a decision in my opinion. But living real, yes, it's about taking that mask off. It's about saying, this is me, world. Love me or hate me. I'm okay either way, and being comfortable with that, because that's not something that a lot of women are comfortable with. And I mean, look at us today, turning our dreams into a reality. We've wanted to be a TV talk show host. Each of us have our own show. We're bosses in all kinds of levels. Right. But to come together and say, we need to be real with each other, we need to be real with our audience, and that's incredibly important to me, and I know that's important to you, and that's why we rock this.
That's right here. So, it's really interesting what you were talking about is, being able to, uncover and open ourselves up. The truth is it's not always easy to do that. And for you, was there a time that maybe in your life that you weren't living real? And tell us about that and maybe how that impacted you, because this is why we did this.
Yeah. There's a couple of times in my life I felt that I wasn't being truly authentic with myself and with the people that I love. I could tell you about my career, in marketing and HR, and how I was the people pleaser, ultimate people pleaser, right? The schmoozer. I always said, that's my job, I'm the schmoozer. The other time I could talk about was, like being a mother and married in an unauthentic marriage, like that was real in a sense. But I really want to talk about being 213 pounds, because when I hated my life and I was depressed and I was sad and I felt worthless, I had to put on the biggest mask of them all, right? I had to be the mom, I had to be the wife, I had to look like my shit was together, I had to know that the neighbors didn't think anything, like anything bad of me. I just cared what everyone else thought so much that I allowed myself to be fake AF, right? I'll save the F-bombs for later, but I was so unreal with me, and I was lying to myself, and I was making excuses for myself on how I got that weight, because it's becoming real and being real with yourself. It's painful. It's painful sometimes, and nobody wants to go through pain. Nobody wants to relive trauma if we don't have to. So instead we shove it down, put a new mask on, and say, hey, it's Monday, welcome, right? But I was just so unreal with myself, and I would be I felt like I was lying to my kids. I felt like I was lying to my friends. They would, like when someone says, hey girl, how you doing today? And you're like, oh girl, I'm doing fabulous. But on the inside, you're screaming, and it's dark, and it feels empty, and you feel more alone than ever because you're not being real. So 213 to living my best life, sitting on our show.
I know.
On the Living Real show, being real with women, I think they need to hear that, because there's power in pain. Absolutely. And I know you're ready and I'm ready. We both take our pain and we turn it into power, baby.
Yep,
so
I'm gonna do that here. There is power in pain. I think that is really strong.
There is.
Yeah.
So kind of just to flip that, what was the time that you were not living totally real with yourself?
Well, I have no problem, so I'm completely on top of my game at all times. So, I think it's the same thing, but it started when I was young. I grew up in a family of overachievers, and I know in our show we're going to cover so many topics. We'll dive deeper into body image, where we can both share our stories there. Talking about burnout and how having all of those. But ever since I was a kid, I never felt like I knew my place. I didn't always feel like I belonged. I always had this drive, and I just didn't know what my thing was going to be. My oldest sister is an artist. She always knew she was going to be an artist. My brother is the party guy. He always knew he was going to be the party guy. Amy's the sweet one. She's the cheerleader, so that was sort of her spot. And I was like, and what about me? And I put, again, using that word masks, I put so many of those on because I was trying to find myself. And I felt that I had to show up in certain ways to get approval from others so that I could then find myself.
What age, if I can interrupt, just what age did you feel that? And then what age did you feel like you found at least the first part of you?
So I would say it was very early. It was probably 5 to 7 that I really, was kind of lost. And it continued
5
on.
to 7 was when the very first time you
ones.
felt, who am I?
What is my place? What am I going to do? And so that spun me on, if we have the artist, we have the party guy, we have the cheerleader, my thing was going to be academics.
Okay.
So for me, my mask meant that I had behind grades. Wow. So I had to really push myself, to be this person. And again, that overachieving started. And I would say it really took a downward spiral for the first time when I was about a sophomore in high school, and that's when I had my sort of first breakdown of what I was doing. Although they called it an identity crisis, but as I had my first breakdown, and just kind of going through there, and I think it really hasn't been. I'm going to be 50 in just a few weeks here, but it was not until I was probably in my 40s that I finally started to own it and really start finding my tribe. Finding my people and not feeling bad because I always had this drive to do more. And people didn't know, they would always be like, why can't you just be content? And it wasn't that I wasn't happy, but I've always wanted more. I wanted to go more global with the trainings, with the speaking, with creating a TV show.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to go more global with it. And, finally, I think getting into, my 40s and just feeling more at peace. And again, not necessarily caring what other people thought anymore.
Yeah, I think it was, I want to just highlight something that you said. It wasn't until your 40s, you probably had multiple breakdowns or identity, right? Because I'm telling you guys, what you see today is not the women we were.
This is a culmination of many breakdowns, many lies to ourselves, all of those things.
Yes, because we are women just like everyone watching here today. At the end of the day, we are real, and we feel that it's our job to kind of be real with y'all because there's so many people walking around eggshells out there trying not to be real with people for just the sake of we don't want to hurt them. So it's coming from a great place, but people need to hear some real stuff.
They do.
They do. But I wanted to bring up, what was it? That people, I don't want to use the word smother, but it's why can't you just be
content?
X?
Why can't you just be
content? Which could be a buzzword for us. And if I thought of content, and I remember thinking, with my first marriage, for any of you guys who don't know, I was married for close to 15 years, and he was a very great man, very supportive, but his whole thing was, baby, why can't you just be content? Why can't we just live in this house? Why do we need this? Or why can't you just be content with your job? Why do you feel like you need to go out and be a coach? All of these things, and I was like, it didn't sit, right? I was like, are there women out there like me? And until we collaborated together, I really thought that I was I'm one of the only alphas walking around. I think you used the word last night, lioness, right?
Lioness.
I was where are the lionesses? It's important to, I guess, not, if someone's in your life is maybe, putting that container, making you small, putting you into this box so that it pleases them, so that they don't feel. Because it's always a them thing. It's never, a you thing sometimes. But you've had the ups and downs. You've had the struggles. You've dreamed big, and then you probably played a little small, and then you dreamed big. But how did you become, what are you today? Who is Clara Capano?
Yeah.
I know a little bit, but tell everyone a little bit about you.
Before I do that, I really just want to highlight this idea of, again, owning who you are. Because some of you who could be watching, you might be a career woman, and that could be your path. But some of you may be a stay-at-home parent, and you know what? That's beautiful too. Yeah. And I think that regardless of what end of the spectrum you're on, you're always feeling pulled in the other direction. If you're a stay-at-home mom, people are making you feel bad because you're not out in the workforce. And if you're out in the workforce, they're making you feel bad because you're not staying at home. Do you. Be who you want to be and own it. No apologies. One of my big words is, not in a mean way, but be unapologetic for who you are. So, who is Clara? Well, again, after all of my wonderful breakdowns, I think for me, I was so focused on checking off the boxes. It was all about, I got to have this title. I've got to have this type of car. I got to get the house, and, following that American dream. But what I found is I was chasing those boxes. I was actually getting further and further away from who I wanted to be and in alignment. And there came a point in my 30s where I just didn't like who I was looking at in the mirror. You know, I would wake up in the morning and feel empty. I would get in the car and do the commute to work, and I would cry the entire way there and the entire way home because I wasn't living authentically. I was trying to show up as this beacon of leadership for something that I wasn't really passionate about and I didn't feel was, again, filling me up. And then, you know, it really just came to me one day, you know, looking at my son who was about 3 and looking at my family and realizing that I wasn't present in my life. I was almost like a walking zombie. You know, you get to the office and you're like, how did I even get here? Well, I was doing that on Saturdays, being like, where did the week go? I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling like I was contributing anything. So for me, you know, I had to get to a point where I had to get real. And I had to have that defining moment and that real talk with myself of, you know, what is the next 40, 50 years gonna look like? And I think so many people are going through their life, and I use this term of being 60% happy. You know, that everything is fine, and I hate that. How are you doing today? I'm fine. I don't want to be fine. You know, I want to be awesome. I want to go in, and when I was going to get my coffee this morning, you know, and they asked me, you know, are you doing anything exciting today? And I was like, hell yeah, I am. And they were sort of like, oh, I don't think people really respond to that. And for me, I don't want to be 60% happy. You know, I want to go after it.
Like, where do you think you learned that I'm not settling for mediocre anymore? Like, I don't just want to be fine. Where do you think that got stuck into your system?
You know, I think, again, probably when I hit in my 40s, you know, after going through a divorce of, you know, just realizing I wanted more, and I was feeling so guilty because I was feeling like something was wrong with me.
Wrong with you.
Because that's
wrong
what people
with the career focus.
Yeah, because that's what everyone told me. What's wrong with you?
Right.
You know, why do you have to do all this? Why do you have to keep creating more? Why can't you just be happy with the paycheck and the 401k and the corporate card and all of these items? You know, so I think, you know, bringing it together and just saying, you know what, I'm okay with who I am. I'm not going to fit into that mold. But also, I think this is a big thing is find people like you. And this is when I started really.
Do what you love.
It worked. But I think this is where, you know, I started seeking out, I'll call them mentors. And I just said, you know what, I can't be the only one. And luckily, this was one of the most positive things that I have found from social media is it was able to connect me with other women. You know, and we can talk about that a little bit more of how we found each other, you know, but I think, you know, part of who Clara is came out of me seeking out others and realizing it's okay to be different. You know, it is okay to want to be a great mom and to have a career and to create your own path and that there was nothing wrong. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, and I have a t-shirt that says, I am perfectly imperfect.
I think you wore that this morning,
I
right?
did. And, you know, that's what I think I finally had to own is, so who is Clara? Clara is perfectly imperfect for everything she is.
I love that.
Yeah.
You guys, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to go in a little bit more about who Clara is, what she does as a coach.
But we're also going to talk about you.
Of course. But I don't want to leave us hanging on how you got to this greatness, like how we are the women that we are today and what we do when we're not out traveling the world and speaking on stages. And cheers into cocktails, girls. So cheers to y'all, and we'll be right back.
365 Daily Hustle, a global health coaching company helping purpose-driven women boss up and get healthy so that they can truly show up and thrive in the world. We help women lose weight, gain energy, and feel sexy and confident. We do all of this by helping our clients create and build healthy, sustainable habits that support a positive mindset, healthy nutrition, exercise, stress management, and of course, self-care. If you're tired of feeling like a failure when it comes to your body and health goals, please visit our website at 365dailyhustle.com.
Welcome back, and we are here to keep living real. So we ended off our last segment, and I was sort of finishing up about me. So
Yes.
since I love talking about me, the question was then again, so who is Clara? And, that really brought me down the path. And there's also one of my favorite passages is from Marianne Williamson, Our Deepest Fear. And I was introduced to that from one of my mentors, Larry Kendall, who is the owner and creator of Ninja Selling Systems, of which I am a master trainer for. And when I read that, she had one line in there saying, "Your playing small does not serve the world."
Yeah.
And for me, I was always the girl behind somebody else. And so it was sort of learning that and stepping into that. So now I'm an international speaker, best-selling author. I am a regular contributor to many different publications. I am an awesome mom of my now 16-year-old son. And, again, I'm just here to help women on a global level, find clarity and step into their greatness and get that traction they need, both professionally and personally.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mama and success woman. You don't have to be one or the other. You don't have to feel like you have to neglect one area in your life. You guys, you really can have it all, right?
Absolutely.
You can have health, you can have vibrancy, you can have, good, great relationships and awesome sex. You can have it all if you are willing to step into that power and come out from playing small. I know all about playing small.
Yeah. Well, let's do that. Let's transition now and let's talk
all
about
right.
you. I'm going to have a
Playing
drink while you go
small,
into
yes.
your story.
Well, I'm just going to tell my story with I think what it is. I grew up as an athlete, so it's not like I was always overweight or anything like that, but I grew up as an athlete with two entrepreneurs. In the back, if I wasn't in the gym in gymnastics, and if I wasn't at school, I was in the back playing, crayons and coloring and pretending I was answering the phone like mom, trying to mimic her voice so that one day I could do it. And I just grew up with entrepreneurs and people who have literally just said, hey, I don't care that there's a box, I'm gonna go and do my own thing, which is really awesome. So in a sense, I got to see my mom and my dad work for everything that they've had. I've seen the blood, sweat, and the tears. I've seen the kids that get to come, there's 4 of us, packing stuffing packets for bridal shows, oh, mom, do we have to do this? it was terrible, but that's how she brought in that balance of being a working mom. I didn't see her a lot, for sure. But I feel like that's one of my biggest, things that she's installed in me is that anything that you want to go and do, yes, you're going to have to put the hustle in. Yes, you're going to have to grind a little bit, but you know what? It's going to be worth it. And that's what we're doing today. But, so there I was, I'm an athlete, right? So I feel like just as a child athlete, we are conditioned a little bit differently because we have to show up, we have to work on our bodies, we have to somewhat eat clean, although at 8 years old, eating clean was my Whopper Jr. and large fry before the gymnastics meet.
Well, you had all your vegetables, your protein, you had everything right there. What else could you
carbs
need?
and fats, there's my macros. But so a lot of people would see me 11 years ago, I'm 5 foot tall, you guys, and I'm 213, and they would have never thought that I was probably thin at one point. But I grew up with a lot of childhood trauma because when parents are not around, the 4 of us we are collisions waiting to happen, right? And I'm going to get real. So, I've got my older sister and then I'm next and then my 2 younger brothers and us younger 3, we are stacked. And so it's 1, 2, 3. It was I think my mom always said pull-ups, diaper, or sippy cup, bottle. And so we were just super close, but we were brothers and sisters. We did terrible things to each other. We tortured them. We laughed together. And then there's 3 because the older sister was I want nothing to do with you crazy kids. So then we found the balance of, hey, 2 versus 1, which was not ever cool. But a lot of childhood trauma went into that. And I won't get into that because I know we have a juicy trauma episode at some point in our seasons. But I had a lot of that. And so growing up, fearing for your life in some moments, growing up with abuse and toxic relationships as I got into my teens, I started shoving my emotions down. And I didn't want to be real because I'm tired of talking to therapists by that point. And so instead I found comfort in food and I became an emotional eater. My family always showed us we eat when we're happy, we eat when we're sad, when someone passes away, we shove more food in our face. Everyone comes with food as a comfort.
Oh yeah, I'm Italian, so
yeah,
I'm right there with
you get that, girl, you get it. But over the years, that was my coping mechanism, was when I'm sad, when I feel empty, And you can imagine 5 or 6 years of feeling like that, how much food went down my throat. And that's how I got to 213. I think it's important to recognize that I'm an emotional eater. So when I get stressed or when I'm doing anything, I'm like, what can I eat? Like that's the go-to.
And it's so funny, not to cut you off, but I was on the opposite spectrum. And again, we'll talk more about this in one of our upcoming, episodes. But for me, it was about control. So instead of shoving food down my throat, I stopped eating altogether because that's how I faced it, is when I feel out of control, that was the only thing I could control. And isn't it funny how, food is that way to do that?
Yes, and food we are getting into that episode, but food will heal us and food will kill us, and it was killing me. And so I get to 213, we're stationed in Germany. I'm not going to give you the health story here because I really want to keep it career right now because I think that that's the big pivoting moment for me. But in Germany, stationed there, I had a rock bottom moment, which led me to a slap, like an epiphany, slap across your face, like something so big that you're like, I can't not face this, right? This reality. And that led me down a healthy path, which is how I became a coach. So when I moved back from Germany, my mom had passed away. Like literally, we were, if you're military, I'm a military spouse. So when you get into the States, we typically visit one side of the family. We fly in and then we drive to wherever it is you're going. So we're there in North Carolina, and I have this feeling, right, that most women are told to ignore our gut and our intuition and our own body's wisdom. And I have this feeling, and I'm trying to call my mom. I'm trying, and finally I get her, and she's like, I'm in the hospital, but no, nothing big. She still played her, I'm dying. It's nothing big, Karissa. Don't worry about me. And I was like, this is something not right. I was like, we got to go. We packed, we left, and in the middle, from North Carolina to Nebraska, we had to stop in St. Louis because I had to make that call for my family. I had to be the pillar of strength that they all needed, and I had to make the call, which led me to, of course, sitting there going through her stuff, packing her stuff up, selling her stuff, and I came across a business ledger. And at that time, it was literally old school. Like it was the black binder with like the green pages of like all the numbers and the pluses. And I was like, what is this? And I'd always grown up in this business of hers. And I was like, this is a sign. Like this, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I moved back here thinking that I was going to have a career with Mama. Are you kidding me? And that was my sign, and I listened to it, and I started my own business. I had never started my own business in my life. In fact, when I worked for Mom, I was the florist and the tuxedo gal. Like, I did nothing else of the business. I didn't run it. There was no marketing at that time. Like, you just were straight up like grassroots marketing, meeting people. And so there I am running a successful business 2 years into it. I started Suit Up Tuxedos, and it was tuxedos, suits, and cigars, which is crazy to think as a health coach that I once owned a cigar shop, for goodness sakes. But that's where it led me. That led me to a corporate career that I was like, I'm kind of excited about this. Like and at first I played small. And she was in my office, in my shop, and she said, Karissa, we're looking for this, and we're looking for someone like this, and this. And I was like, girl, I don't know anyone like that. That's so crazy, right? And she's like, no, I'm here for you. I was like, we're in my shop. Are you kidding me? Like, I own this place. And she's like, well, think about it. And so I took 5 days to think about it, and I let it sit in, and I was like, this is really exciting. Like, I think this is the path I need to be going. And I went into that path, sold my tuck shop, sold my very first business for a profit, and went into this marketing job, and then which eventually turned into HR. But the coolest thing is, as the community was watching my weight go down, they were watching my confidence rise, which is what I think is really important. Because with confidence, with feeling like we are owning ourselves a little bit and kind of stepping into that, you just start to glow. And I didn't see what she saw in me when she was trying to get me, but I kept stepping into a better version of me. And that's when I found my mentors. And that's when I was like, I want to be better. Why is that okay to be better? Like I needed permission from someone to be a better version of me. And I remember it went from mentors to, what do I really want to do? I'm 30. What do I want to do that's really passionate? And I didn't know what that was quite yet. The universe has a funny thing of like guiding us to where we are. But I just started, getting healthier, helping other people do it on the side as a side hustle, which led me to what I'm at today. So, as a health, fitness, mindset professional and coach, I help women, honestly. I help them gain that confidence. I help them step into that power. And sometimes we need to shed the weight in order to do so. So I am a weight loss expert. So as a coach, I love what I do. I always say my tagline is helping women boss up. Helping women boss up to the next level, no matter what that looks like.
Exactly. Letting them define for themselves.
Yes.
And that's what I think is, you mentioned earlier about, that your parents being entrepreneurs taught you how to get out of the box. I think so many times people are trying to keep us in the box, and it's the box that's their comfort level. And I think, again, understanding that we get to define what our own box looks like and how open it is or how closed. Again, and if you want to have a more closed box, that is okay as long as that is what you want. And I think that's what it is again, really get clear, on what it is for you and what your definition of success, your definition of bossing up, whatever that is, and, really going after that.
And I love what you just said, and I'm going to spin it for you because it needs to be done. You're the queen of clarity. And so when I think, clarity for me means freedom, right? To finally know what the heck I want to do. And I feel so blessed to have found my passion and my purpose. I think Jay Shetty says dogma, right? I'm like, I found my dogma when I was reading that book. And it's taking that passion and what you're good at and your skills and making that your reality. And as a coach, as a speaker, as a mother, it is my job to show whether it's my daughter or my son, whether it's my clients or whether it's the world, that it's their time to boss up. It's their time to unleash their best version of themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's a little bit about what I do as a coach, how I got to where I am.
And, I'm so excited for all of us to be able to, dive deeper into these topics over the upcoming episodes that we have. But let's just go back to, again, why we created the show, Living Real. It is real conversations with real women about real life. Why do you think it is so hard for women to live real?
Well, the coach in me says it's because someone once told them in their life that it's not okay to be real, right? Whether it's us at the grocery store when our moms are like, Karissa, stop doing that. Like, why do you have to be acting out, right? It doesn't matter what it is. I think that's our story that we grow up with is like, I need to play small a little bit because I was always told I'm ADD. I'm all over the place, right? So Mom and my teachers even quit rolling your eyes.
Right. Or you're too sensitive or you talk too much. And, that was something that I have is, you're always talking. And so that turned into something where I stopped talking, and I remember, there was a time where I had gone to a game night at a friend's house several years after my divorce. And he looked at me and he said, I never realized how funny you were because I was so afraid to talk because I would get reprimanded for speaking, because I was told, again, it was too much.
Be quiet, sit down and just be a good little girl, right?
That's what good little girls do is, they are seen but not heard. And even though it wasn't my family, it was society.
Oh, we're influenced everywhere.
And, even though I think we've made growth, I still think society as a whole, still sees it very differently.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think it's our goal, it's our obligation to, again, give women permission. And, for me, I think one of the reasons women don't live real is they don't give themselves permission to. There's so much guilt and shame around it. And even going back to, your mother basically on her deathbed, no, I'm fine.
I'm good,
How many
Karissa.
times do we do that where people ask us and we say, oh, no, I got it. And that was a big moment for me when I was having my last big breakdown. I was so afraid to be real and to say, I'm crumbling. I had my son. I only took about 3 weeks off before I jumped back into work. I was battling postpartum depression. It was a mess, but I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't tell my parents because then they would worry.
Sure.
I couldn't tell my spouse's parents because then she can't handle it.
Right.
I couldn't handle
She's
having
a
that
weak
conversation with my mother-in-law. That was just not going to happen. I couldn't let anybody at work because they were entrusting me as their leader, and here were their, so it was such a scary time. It was so dark. And when I started again, being open and saying, you know what, I'm kind of a hot mess today. I found that the right people were like, yes.
Yes.
And they were coming to me being like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, I'm not doing it all. And this is what is not getting done.
Yeah.
And so that brings me to the ideas of trade-offs. And I think part of living real is understanding, this idea of, can I have it all?
Yeah.
Well, I think, again, there's ebbs and flows to that. And we have to sometimes make trade-offs.
Sure.
What would you say are some
Yeah.
trade-offs maybe that you have to make on your journey to be real?
Well, on my journey to getting healthy, I realized when I had to set some boundaries of like, okay, I can't get up at 4 a.m. if I'm going to bed at midnight, or doing whatever. And so some of the trade-offs was time with my kids, and unfortunately, I had a huge trade-off, with my corporate. I thought that my hustle and my hard work that I was trying to prove to everyone else when I didn't need their approval to be very successful in my corporate job, I was neglecting the family. I'm like, oh, my husband's got it. What a great, and I would lie to myself of like, I didn't even stop to think, what if he doesn't have it?
Right.
Like he's got it and he's, act like all these things, but a divorce led out of that. So I feel like that was a huge thing where I traded my family life and I had my priorities totally upside down. But I want to go back to sleep because this is probably the biggest thing that I get judged for from other mamas is, I go to bed at 8 o'clock. And so when my 5-year-old or 6-year-old is tucking me in to go to bed at 8, and then her dad will then tuck her in around 8:30, moms would be like, what? You should be tucking your daughter in with a book. You should be driving your kids to school instead of letting them, get up on their own and get to the bus stop. And all of these you shoulds. And I was like, why should I? I know what it's like to be a depressed mama that's irritable all the time and that hates her body, who's sad. What am I really teaching my kids?
Right.
So trade-off was, unfortunately, I have to let my kids be kids, but I also have to let them be adults. And I think that's important because we're here.
Right.
And my son's 20 and my daughter's 14, and you know what? They get up and they make their own breakfast. And they make ramen. Like they're making 5-star meals because I haven't always been there.
Right.
So I feel like the trade-off really is me teaching them how to be better adults and for the future.
Right.
And
I think some of the idea of the trade-offs is, again, getting back to, it doesn't matter what is working for other people. You've got to get clear on what's working for you. And the trade-off could be that with your significant other, again, one of you is on the morning shift and one of you is on the evening shift, or, different days that you're working. But I think, for me, as silly as it is, house cleaning. One, I don't like it and I'm not good at it, but I didn't want to delegate it out because, again, why can't you do it all? It's so easy. Why can't you just do that? And finally being able to say, you know what, it's not working for me. I am working full time. I'm getting my master's degree. I am starting my consulting business. Oh, and I have a 3-year-old son and I'm a single mom. That 4 hours of house cleaning can be better spent spending time with my son.
Him,
And so understanding, again, that was a trade-off, but that's what worked for me. And so I think, again, understanding and owning that part of living real is standing in your truth and saying, that's great that running your household works this way. That's great that staying up till 11 o'clock is working for you. This is what works for me.
Right.
And that's it too, because I'm an early bird too.
Yep.
And so now my son is 16, but I'm like, okay, it's 8:30, I'm going to bed. And, he stays up, I'm sure, way past what he tells me.
Yes.
But, he's capable of putting himself to bed.
But they have to learn that too then when they get up and drag booty, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, and my grades, and then we're on them. They have to come to that own realization.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't you? Your mama could have told you, Clara, that stove is hot, but you probably still wanted to touch it because you're a boss.
Exactly, and again, same thing. I had to take care of my own breakfast and, work on these. Like you, I'm so excited for this show. And I know that, for me, when we talked about doing this, because we found each other through a different collaboration.
Yes.
We were co-authors on a book called Women Who Boss Up. And that's how we sort of, found each other. And that was also part of us finding our place. And when we were talking about doing a show together, because we each have our own outside shows, we just said, we want something different. We want something that's going to inspire, motivate, but also, again, be fun.
Yeah,
because living
fun,
real is also
real.
fun. So, you know, for me, I really want to be able to step back and leave something behind. Again, build that community where women can go and leave feeling good about themselves, not feeling like a failure, not feeling like they got everything under control,
Right.
but again, it's that perfectly imperfect. What were some of your hopes when we put this together?
You know, you honestly, you nailed them at the end of the day. I just want to inspire women to realize that, holy crap, successful women don't have their shit together, right? Like, they're still like some on certain things, we're still 10 steps behind, you know? We've just learned the strategies to now that it's like the non-negotiables, I like to call them, where it's like, no matter what, we get up and we work out today, even though we've got, you know, like shows and life to live, you know, all those things. But I just want to inspire women that to take their mask off, it's exhausting.
It is. You know, it's interesting that we talk about this concept of taking your mask off, and we're going to go a little deeper into this. But Karissa, what's your favorite holiday?
Hello, Halloween.
Mine too. Isn't it funny how this whole concept of us stepping into our
Yes.
authenticity, for so many years we wore these masks. I think it's funny how both of our favorite
Yes.
holidays are something where you have to
Sure.
hide behind the mask, and what
Yes.
growth we've made, you know, in doing that. So as we're looking forward, you know, what are some of the things you're so excited about? What are some of the messages that you can't wait to bring our viewers?
Let's see, knowing the episodes that we are going to be talking about, I'm excited to talk about nourishment. You know, honestly, we need to be nourishing not just our bodies, but our mind. We need to be nourishing our relationships. And then I'm really, really excited, I think, for, the self-care. It's been a huge key to my success. If you know, when I write my first solo book, like that will be a chapter all on its own, if not a couple. So I'm really looking forward to teaching women how to take care of themselves and why they need to take care of themselves. What about you?
Well, I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about burnout a lot. And, you know, I think there is nobody that's going to come through this journey without having at least one episode of burnout. So, again, really talking about how we can face that and work through it, because it could be the breakthrough that we need. I'm really excited to talk about body image. You know, we dove into that, and both of us have had our own journeys with that.
Yeah.
And then also just talking about simple things we can do. Because, let's be honest, nobody out there has any more time to do anything else. So I really am excited to be able to bring some tips around health, fitness, well-being, all these things that you can do in 5 minutes or less, so that we could really give our women some strategies to, again, help them step into it, but also make it easy for them and make it real.
It's all about like, I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, press the easy button. Because as women, we always want to overcomplicate it, right? You're like, oh, I need to bring a fruit tray. Let me get the melon baller out and make it look like this gorgeous bouquet, right? When nobody's got time for that anymore. And,
And at the end of the day, nobody really cares.
Nobody cares.
It's just melon.
Hey, now I just did that. No, but at the end of the day, it's like if we have to leave our audience with one final message, I think they're going to realize through the show is that we need to keep things simple. Keep it down to the 1%, the daily decisions, not the yearly. It's great to have the vision, and we're going to talk about that, right? It's good to go long term, but we've got to break it down into the sustainable stuff that women like you, I, and anyone who's watching today, it's going to need. Keeping it simple, keeping it real.
Absolutely. Well, I am just so excited. Thank you for being on this journey with me. We are going to be just really rocking it. So I just want to thank all of you for joining us today for our first episode. There are so many more to come. Please visit our website, which is livingrealtv.com, and you can learn more about us. You can learn about all of our upcoming guests and get all of our tips and tidbits from our, craftaholic, or what do we call it?
Yeah, that was hard for me. I was like, wait, what?
From Dion, so we'll be sharing all of those. And also just know that if there's any topics that you want to get real on, or any questions that you have for us, you can contact us through our website. So thank you again for joining us, and let's keep getting real.